My mom and I moved to Croatia 5 months ago with our two dogs without knowing anyone, speaking the language, or having been here before. And in this video, I want to talk to you about what it was like moving to Croatia as an American and some of the things, like some of the barriers that might be a little bit harder because you're American versus if you were an EU citizen, and a few things to three aspects that I think a lot of people might not consider or they don't think about, and then also some tips and tricks as far as what I've learned since moving here, daily life, and how to assimilate and build a life here for yourself in the Croatian culture. Just for some background, I'm American. I was born in Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, and we moved from North Carolina, where we had lived for the past 7 years. So you have a lot of options when it comes to where to move. And we knew that we wanted to be in Europe. I've always known I wanted to live in Europe. I visited here many times, but as I said, we hadn't been to Croatia before. And initially we were planning to move to Portugal. We were planning to move to the Algarve region, like Lagos area of Portugal. We were having some difficulty finding a place there that we both could agree on. So we ended up landing on Porto. We had everything lined up, the year-long lease. We go to the Portuguese consulate in New York City to get our visas to find out that we were not at the right place. We could only go to the embassy or the consulate in Miami or Houston, and it was going to push back our move by 6 months. And so we started looking up countries that were in the Schengen area that you could apply for a visa from within, meaning once we got here and we're near the water, because I just really love being by the water. And funny story, ChatGPT is the one who initially suggested Croatia. And then when I realized just like the natural beauty of the place, I had a picture hanging in my office for years of Plitvice lakes, the natural waterfalls they have here. And I always thought it was an AI generated image. And then I found out it was actually a real place and it was in Croatia. And that set the wheels in motion for us to move here. Okay. So one of the things that's easiest about Croatia, like I said, you can apply for a digital nomad visa once you're here. If you are an American citizen, you can move to Croatia. You can come to Croatia for 90 days without a visa. You don't have to do anything. But if you're planning on staying longer term, then you're going to want to apply within 90 days for the digital nomad visa, which is either for 12 or 18 months. The requirements to get the digital nomad visa are as follows. First of all, you have to prove a certain amount of monthly income, which is, I believe it's 3,400 euros a month. And one of the barriers for me, at least being self-employed and having my own business, is my income fluctuates. Some months it could be like 20 and some months it could be 2. Like it was going up and down, and it has to be from in the past 12 calendar months. So you have to either be able to prove that you have this, at least that amount coming in every month. It's not an average, or that you have 40,000 in savings, which that's just like the income requirement. You need a year-long lease. We were able to find a lease here in Split. My mom was in a few Facebook groups. You can use a site called Idealista. And we did have some luck with Idealista, but we ended up we got this like beautiful penthouse in Split. It's in the center, from a Facebook group that my mom was a part of. She said, hey, me and my daughter are planning to move to Croatia. We're looking at Split. If anybody knows a place. And there was a woman who was in the Facebook group who was the mom of a daughter who had owned this place, who hadn't even listed it yet. She's like, my daughter just renovated her place. You have to see it. It's beautiful. And she connected us. We saw some videos of it and we really, really liked it. But we had been ripped off before. My mom had given this guy money in Portugal for a place that didn't even exist. So what we did is, when we moved here June 3rd, we flew from DC to Vienna to Sukošan, which is like a small little town, maybe an hour away from Split, where we stayed in like an Airbnb for a month so that we could come see this place in person and just make sure everything was legit. So you need the year-long lease. We're talking about some of the barriers and requirements for Americans specifically moving here. It's really expensive to move abroad. It will put a dent in your savings. We probably spent a total of $40,000 for everything to move here. And that counts, everything getting rid of our stuff, like leaving there. And we also have 2 dogs. So that's something to consider is if you have pets. I think it's much easier to fly with cats. That's from what we hear from people who have moved here with cats. But with dogs, you have to make sure that they can both fit on the plane. Like we would book a flight and they only had space for 1 dog, but you don't find out until after. And so we used Vienna Airlines. They're really good with animals. They have a good reputation for that. And one of the hardest parts about moving here as an American with dogs was just all the requirements for them. They need shots, a USDA certificate, a certain kind of crate that has to be closed a certain way, and they got to have the little water, like gerbil things on the outside. I mean, it was just, that part was wild. The year-long lease. The other thing is that the euro is stronger than the dollar. So it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. 80 euros is about $100. So the cost of living here is not quite as inexpensive as I thought it would be, and I'm not really sure why I thought that would be the case, but groceries, rent, we probably pay about the same amount for our place here, but it did come fully furnished and it's much larger. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. So we pay a good bit more than the average. So you're going to want to look into finding a place that works for you and your lifestyle here, using something like Idealista. Facebook groups are really, really good for this. And then I'll give you a couple other options at the end. Your rents can range, I would say people pay an average of 700 up to 1,500 euros a month for their apartment. And obviously there's a wide range depending on where you want to be in the city, where you want to be located, whether or not you're going to have a car to be able to get around. We knew that we would not have a car initially, so we wanted to be in the center, walking distance to everything. And so that also makes our rent a little bit more expensive. You're also going to need an OIB. It's basically your government social security number. We needed to get an OIB to sign the lease here. Let's see, moving with pets. We did use a lawyer for our digital nomad visa. There's a company called Expats in Croatia. They are amazing. They have a newsletter. They have tons of resources, and they have lawyers that are in the different cities in Croatia. And we were paired up with a lawyer in Zadar at first because that was closer to Sukashan where we were staying initially. And then we were connected with one in Split, and they helped us with some of the paperwork. The bureaucracy here is difficult if you don't speak the language. Getting our OIB was just, it was crazy. Like they told us the lawyer told us exactly where to go to get it. And we get to the front, we tell her what we need. And she's just like, no, you need this paper. I forgot what it was. She was like, no, you can't apply in Zadar because you live in Split, but turns out we could apply in Zadar, and she just didn't want to help us. And I think this is very, very common, especially if you're American and you don't speak Croatian, but Croatians bitch about it too. There's just bureaucracy, and there's always one more paper you need. That's the joke. You always need one more thing than whatever you came with. So whatever legal document paperwork you need to get, just expect to make multiple trips. Just expect that from the beginning. So you have to be able to prove this $3,400 a month, have $40,000 in savings. You have to pass a background check. You need to apply within the first 90 days that you're here. You have to have health insurance. And we ended up having to pay 4 months in advance on our place. Like we paid the first 2 months and then the last 2 months. So it's a lot of expenses up front. If you are an American moving here, and you work for yourself or you're fully remote, it should be pretty easy. You want to make sure that the time difference is going to work with your job. I do know Americans that have jobs from America that are able to work fully remotely here. It just depends on what you do. And because I work for myself, I have my own online business, a spiritual business school. One thing I didn't really consider is, so my clients who are in California, we're a 9-hour difference. My East Coast clients are only a 6-hour difference. So I've had to really shift my schedule. Before, I was much more of a morning person where I would have all my calls and meetings early in the day, and that's just not possible anymore. So my morning has become more of my me time. I can have slower mornings, and I take all of my calls later in the afternoon. Now that works great for self-employed or fully remote American jobs, but if you're coming here expecting to find a job, you want to make sure of that ahead of time. Because I know quite a few people. First of all, the job market is not as robust, anywhere near as robust as it is in America. And typically, if you have a higher skill set, you're pretty qualified, they're gonna prefer Croatian or at least European residents who can speak the language. There's not as many jobs available. And then if you are able to find a job, you are not gonna be making as much as you did there. You're just not. It's not going to happen. So you really want to take that into consideration. I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with that. That's one. So that would definitely be a barrier for Americans. It just depends on what your career job situation is. The language barrier. Croatian is not an easy language to learn. It's Slavic. It is, some of the good things about it is that they use a Latin alphabet just like we do. Every letter is pronounced exactly the same wherever you see it, but they have less vowels than we do. And the grammar, the construction of the words is much different. Like you have to learn a lot of different endings. I have not started learning Croatian. I really want to. There's plenty of places and teachers here who do it. But that being said, everyone speaks English. They literally all speak English. Very rarely will I come across a person who does not speak any English. It's usually an older person, and I'll be walking with my dog Jackson in the morning and they'll be talking to him. Like this morning we were walking in Marian and he's talking to this woman's dog, and then she comes up and she's trying to pet him and he's not paying her any attention. And I was like, oh, he's just, tired, and she's like, oh, it's because he doesn't speak Croatian. They'll just hop right into English, but they do appreciate you learning, at least trying to learn the language. And also, if you do learn Croatian, one of the nice things is you can also understand and speak to Bosnians and Serbians. They say that the languages are all different, but they all understand each other. So that's cool. It would be different if you're moving to a country like Albania, which the language is very difficult to learn, but not related to any other language. So that's just interesting. All right. 3 aspects I feel like most people don't consider or not aware of until you're here is number 1, although it is easy for Americans to apply for a digital nomad visa for either 12 or 18 months, that does not apply towards your long-term residency. Meaning that year or 18 months that you spent here when you apply for residency, which you have to have lived here for, I believe, 5 years, that year doesn't count, and you're going to have to pass different requirements to apply for long-term residency or citizenship, if that's what you want. And the requirements for that are different. So you can either start your own business here and invest, I think it's 30,000 euros to start a business here in Croatia, and you have to employ 3 Croatians full time. So that's one option, starting a business here. The second one is you get hired by a Croatian company that is willing to sponsor your visa. And I do know a lawyer here who specifically works with digital nomads and self-employed people who own their own businesses. So if that's something that's who you are and you need help with that, you can just comment below or comment below. If you want more information about that, I can connect you with him. Secondly, I kind of mentioned this already. The cost of living is higher than we thought. And also it's very split. I know someone's going to correct me on that. Is very touristy, meaning it's very seasonal. So the summer is like crazy. It's so busy. This is a really hot travel vacation destination for the world, but definitely for Europeans, definitely. And so it's really, really busy. And a lot of the places in the center can be very expensive, but then they're closed over the winter. So it becomes a different city. And now we're getting into that now. And I actually kind of like it. It's nice that things aren't as congested, and there's still enough things open. It's not dead. There's still plenty of people who live here year round who are from here or who have moved here. So it's not like a ghost town, but it's a completely different vibe than what I've been used to, because we live in the center where all the cruise boats come in the summer, and it gets crazy down by the Riva and going through the palace, which is crazy. And the cost of living is higher than we thought because I believe of tourism. They're so dependent on it. So the prices, they'll probably charge you more. Some places will charge you more if they know you don't speak Croatian, if you're in a really touristy part of town. But there are plenty of great restaurants outside the city that have very reasonable prices. One of my favorite places is this Macedonian place. We got food from there. I've eaten there a few times now. You get a mixed platter for 2 people. It's like 40 euros. And it's literally, you get pork, chicken, cevapi, which are like these little meat links. They're so good. Ton of fries, steak. It's so much food. We ate it for me and my mom for 2 days straight, which was amazing. So there are more affordable options if you're willing and able to get out of the center. You do not have to have a car here. It's definitely a walkable city. One thing I think that people don't consider is that it could be really hard to drive here if you're not from here. It's kind of crazy, especially over the summer. I would not want to drive here. And if you're living in the center, you're going to have a really hard time finding parking, and it's going to be pretty expensive unless you know a good spot, which I have found like maybe 1 or 2 good spots, but I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that. And then the third thing is healthcare. You have to have health insurance to apply for your digital nomad and to qualify, but it might not cover the things that you need here. So I had to go to a psychiatrist here and pay out of pocket for some meds that I've been on for a number of years. And initially I went to the Tourist Medical Clinic, which I definitely never recommend going to. I mean, the name has it all. It's tourist, so they're going to charge you so much. I went there because I had some water in my ear and I wanted to see how much it would be to refill my meds. She was trying to charge me like 250 euros and telling me I had an ear infection. I just go to the pharmacy next door and I told her, and she gave me a spray for 10 euros and it went away. And so I ended up finding a local psychiatrist through a friend who was able to prescribe all my meds here. It was 90 euros out of pocket. So that's just something to consider, what the healthcare situation is going to be like, because I do not believe you qualify. Like, their healthcare is really affordable if you're from here or you're a resident, and I'm not sure what the process would be for getting covered. I don't believe as a digital nomad you can get that coverage. You can't until you're a citizen. So that's just something to think about. Remote healthcare is not really a thing here. There might be some people doing it, but we had remote healthcare included in our health insurance coverage when we first came, and then come to find out, like, they don't really do that. So that's not really an option. Just some tips and tricks as far as what I've learned moving here. You can keep your phone. I still have my same iPhone. What I did is I ported my number with Google Voice. It was 20 euros. So now I have the Google Voice app on my phone, so I can still receive calls and messages on my same number. And now all I pay for is data. And data is like super cheap here. I think I paid 20 euros for 150 gigabytes for 3 months. And that was through A1 Telecom, which is definitely the cheapest option. There are other places, depending on whether you have an eSIM or a physical SIM, where you can get data. It's really easy to do, but you can keep your same phone. You can keep your number just by data. That's it. The second thing is, make sure you join the WhatsApp groups. There's this WhatsApp, at least for Split, we have a WhatsApp Split Expats in Split group that has a bunch of different subgroups. And so I found people to play tennis with. There's a ladies group. There's like a banter group. We usually do things on Fridays and Saturdays. And sometimes the ladies get up for a coffee just, in the middle of the day, or just kind of spur of the moment, which is really, really nice. And so I've met a lot of people that way, which is amazing. And it's really great for networking and just meeting other expats. And it's really easy to make connections and friends with other expats, because generally people who travel or who move to other countries are pretty educated, cultured. You immediately have something in common. It's been so nice and refreshing to meet so many people. We went out for my mom's birthday last night, and we've only been here for 5 months, and we had like 6 or 7 people there who we're all friends with. And that wouldn't have happened in North Carolina. We didn't even have that many friends there. She didn't have that many friends there. And I did, but we weren't that close. I have better friends here, so that's nice. And yeah, I think that's all I got for you as far as moving to Croatia as an American citizen. If you're interested, I do help women scale their online coaching businesses using human design, a platform called Skool, and I have a free community that I will link down below. And if you have any follow-up questions about this at all, comment them below and I'll make you a video. Mwah.